Seats, please. Let's see well, good evening, everyone. Let's make a start. Welcome to the City of Canning at 6 p.m. on Thursday, the 29th of January 2026. And welcome to the City Centre Function Centre. I declare the annual meeting open. We start by acknowledging the Watchmen people, the traditional custodians of the land, and of course we pay our respects to elders, both past and present. For those of you present tonight, can I please ask you turn off all the electronic devices? That includes mobile phones, iPads and tablets for the duration of the meeting. And it's mostly because the devices can interfere with our audio equipment in here. So very much appreciate if you turn those off, please, if you can. This meeting is being live streamed on the city's website. But being present at the meeting this evening, you do give your consent, or you need to be aware of the possibility that your voice and or image is being live streamed to the public. Statements made during this meeting are solely those of the person making them, and nothing expressed at the meeting can be attributed to this entity. The purpose of this meeting is to receive the annual report for 2024-25 and to consider any other general business. Mr. Michael Littleton, CEO of the City of Canning, and I hand over to you to read out the procedures for the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just grab the talking stick. And welcome to everybody in the audience tonight. So thank you very much for coming to our 2024-25 result of the annual report. The meeting procedures for tonight are as follows. An elector has a right to one vote but does not have to vote. Non-electors are not eligible to vote. Only the electors may speak unless the meeting by resolution permits the person to speak. When addressing the meeting, a person shall speak to the meeting using a public microphone, state their name and suburb recorded in minutes, address the meeting through the presiding member, which is neither there or. An elector may move a motion at the meeting, which will only be considered if it has a seconder. Motions carried at this meeting are not binding on the council. Motions carried will be presented at the next available ordinary council meeting for the council to consider. Voting is determined by a show of hands or other form of open voting determined by the presiding member. A simple majority carries the vote. Minutes of this meeting will be published on the city website. The presiding member is to determine questions relating to order and procedure that are not listed above. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Item 2 on tonight's agenda, attendances. We do have apologies tonight from Councillor Joanne Page. She's a formal apology for tonight. Councillor Jesse Jacobs is an approved leave of absence through the 12th of March. He's not able to be here. All other members of council are present, other than Councillor Hillary, who is not present. As far as we go to item 3, the Mayoral Address, we put it to video. It's here for the truck to speak out. So we put it to video, and I think I'm going to ask Karen or staff to press the button. Thank you.
Well, hi everyone, I'm Mayor Patrick Hall from the City of Canning. The 2024-25 financial year saw Canning achieve and kick some exceptional goals right across our welcoming and thriving city. Join me as we go over some of the highlights from the last year. Talking about kicking goals, kickstarting the year we adopted our better budget for a brighter future, focusing on balancing our community needs today while making careful and considered investment for tomorrow. Council's commitment to Canning's brighter future is spread right across the city, ensuring that our investments are transforming spaces to enhance the lifestyle that our residents already enjoy. Starting at the community level, several community facilities such as the Restrada Family Centre, Frederick Pavilion, Parkwood Pavilion and Canningvale Pavilion all received major upgrades. These facilities play such an important role in our welcoming and thriving city, improving accessibility for local sporting clubs, and groups as they learn to connect and play. We've been told how important our playgrounds are, which is exactly why it was so exciting to celebrate the opening of Shelley Beach Park Playground right behind me, the city's first district level playground, helping children of all ages to play and learn right here next to the stunning Shelley foreshore. 6 local playgrounds right across our neighbourhoods also received upgrades and renewal, where we are already seeing them loved and used by our local families. We truly are genuinely committed to reinvesting our rates income into infrastructure that our community can actually see and experience each and every day, enriching the fantastic River Precinct lifestyle that our residents get to enjoy while living here in Canning. And last year also saw our continued efforts towards ensuring our environment has a brighter future through the Cleaning Up the Canning River initiative, securing $1.5 million to support healthier waterways and greener public spaces. But of course, as a welcoming and thriving city, inclusion and opportunity are a core pillar for making a brighter future. We launched the Canning Arts Studio Trail, creating new opportunities to support and showcase local artists and creativity right across the city. I'm so incredibly proud to have had the Mayor's Charity Gala Dinner once again return, partnering with Camco Engineering to support local charity Good Semi, raising over $85,000 through collaboration with Canning's local businesses. We were able to fund key traineeships and work opportunities for students living with a disability, as well as fund the implementation of a local government first on-demand donation collection service. Such an important reminder of what can be achieved when community, business, and generosity come together. And our annual events program returned, bringing people together down at Kent Street Weir for the Muddy Hands event and for some fantastic food in our suburbs with our Friday Night Eat series of events activating our public spaces. Our brighter future also focused on our core facilities and services, including our increasingly popular leisurplexes, receiving important upgrades and maintenance to protect what our community told us matters most to them. And we will continue to work towards our commitment of strengthening the city today while laying the foundations for a more connected, sustainable and livable Canning tomorrow. I really want to take a moment to thank my council colleagues, including Deputy Mayor Mark Bain, City of Canning CEO Michael Littleton, his leadership team, all of the amazing staff of the city who throughout each and every year continue to deliver professional and passionate services as we strike to be exceptional. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next year.
Thank you very much for watching it. Thank you to our staff for putting that together. At item 3.1, CEO, I'll ask you to do your address.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And
no video for you, by the way.
No, it's simply for you. But I'm certainly conscious that this is your meeting, and I do appreciate an opportunity to summarise the year that was, and obviously Nelson will also present to you our financial position. So I commend to you the City of Canning's 24-25 annual report and financial statements. I would like to acknowledge firstly our elected member group. I appreciate their hard work and dedication to advocate on behalf of our community, and I thank you all for your continued support. I'd also like to acknowledge the work of our fantastic leadership team and all of our passionate and dedicated staff for what I believe has been another very successful year. We talk about delivering exceptional services and outstanding infrastructure for our community. This report highlights our efforts to deliver on that commitment. Financially, we've continued our focus on stabilising the balance sheet to fully fund our asset renewal and service commitments. We have continued to reduce our debt profile, and we have increased our reserve balances, which will enable us to plan for our brighter future. We have reviewed our service areas and reprioritised our investment to increase our spend on key community infrastructure and service areas that will improve the livability of this city. Investment in community buildings, regional playgrounds, and neighbourhood playgrounds continue to be a point of focus for this council, and it has invested in improved service, particularly in our waste parks and community service areas. As a testament to this commitment, a new regional playground was recently opened at Mayoral Park to complement the one established at Shelley Beach in the 24-25 reporting year, with council now signing off on the Kent Street play space just before Christmas. That's 3 regional playgrounds in 3 years and more than $11 million of investment for our community and for families. We know these are the things that our community value, and we will continue to strive to make our place one of the most livable in Perth. With that, I certainly don't have anything further to add. We're very welcome. You're very welcome to ask us any questions. Mr. Mauricio will now present the financial statements for your consideration.
Thank you, Michael, and good evening, everyone. I get the pleasure of presenting the city's annual financial results for 24-25. So, presentation to go through. So, start off with some highlights for 24-25. So, the city received an unqualified audit opinion. It was carried out by KPMG, once again under contract with oversight by the OAG, Office of the Auditor General. It's fair to say that it was a positive financial performance achieved by the city for the year. Its year-end operating result outperformed the budget and continues its recent upward trend year on year. We achieved a small uncommitted budget surplus, which was transferred into the budget management policy. We were able to do that because our income is showing revenue growth that exceeds expenditure growth. So, and that's in dollar terms. We also have a positive financial position. So the city's net assets and total equity total $1.07 billion. It's a big number. And that's an increase of $24.55 million on the year, which represents the city's net result. The city also has $1.53 billion in total assets, or gross replacement value for those assets. So that's a lot of assets that the city has to maintain. We were able to deliver a capital program of $41.19 million during the year, and we had $28.69 million worth of carry forwards, which we built into the 25-26 budget. Now, the reason we have those carry forwards is a lot of those projects are multi-year projects, which can't be delivered in 12 months, so we have to carry them forward. We also had increase in cash reserves and continue to pay down debt. All this equals a strong balance sheet for the city. Something that, if you do read the report, you'll notice that we compare our financial performance and our results against the adopted budget, and that's a legislative requirement. But the budget is a dynamic. The budget is dynamic in its nature, and it's subject to council review throughout the year. As, for example, we do a mid-year budget review. Moving on to the next slide. So this slide is looking at our financial performance using some ratios. So some of you may understand or be aware that previously there was this financial health indicator, which has now been replaced by a local government financial indicator. Now, the old indicator was based on 7 legislative ratios that were repealed in November 22. And so the department has established this new indicator, which is based on 4 key financial ratios. Those ratios are the current ratio, the operating surplus ratio, the debt service coverage ratio, and the net financial liabilities ratio. So it's all very technical, but the results are there to see. So what I'm showing there is in 23-24, the figures aren't yet published, and I've also got a link there to the My Council website, so you're welcome to go to that website, have a look at the City of Canning's results, and also compare us to other local governments. It allows you to do that. But what you can see there is that in 22-23, the last published result, we achieved a score of 100%, and the base or the benchmark score is 70%, not 70%, it's a benchmark of 70. So we achieved the maximum score with 100 in 22-23. We recently received a draft report with our score for 23-24, which is at 96, which hasn't been published yet. And what we did as a city is calculate our score for 24-25 using our financial results for that year, and we've jumped back up to the 100%. Now, the reason for the dip in 23-24, just if anyone's interested, is our capital grants. The capital grants that the city receives impacts one of the ratios, And for 23-24, we had a dip in the amount of capital grants we received, which just slightly pulled our score down. But in 24-25, we had strong capital grants. Moving on to the next slide. So this is the representation of the end of year surplus. So our actual surplus was $14.12 million. There's some adjustments we make to that. So there was some federal assisted grants, or we call them FAGs, that were pre-funded in 26 for 27, but we received funding in 25, or actually, that should probably say 25, 26 pre-funding adjustments, sorry. And we received that at the end of in June 25. Now, it's saying $513,000. We actually get a little bit more than that, but we had budgeted for some of that, so it's an adjustment that we have to do. We also had the majority of that actual surplus is, as I mentioned before, we had those multi-year projects to carry forward of $28 million. 12.356 represents the City of Canning's municipal funding for those projects. And what's left is uncommitted end of year surplus, which we transfer into the asset replacement reserve in accordance with council policy. There's a couple of things I probably just want to point out on the surplus is that the Maniana Park project, which Michael mentioned previously, that was supposed to be funded from a loan. We had planned to borrow for that. We decided to fund that out of the surplus instead, which meant we reduced our debt profile. The other one was we'd also planned to borrow for the whaleback perimeter fencing, which was about a $2.6 million loan. And whilst we are still going to borrow for that, we hadn't done that at the end of 25. So that was pre-funded also out of the surplus. So the surplus, whilst it's only a $1.25 million uncommitted surplus, the previous year we had $6.1 million. If you allow for those adjustments, it's really a $5 million surplus. So moving on, this is just a summary of the city's income statement. That shows our operating revenue has increased year on year by $9.2 million, which is a 6.5% increase in revenue. Rates contributed mostly to that, an extra $5.58 million. And our fees and charges was also higher by $5.2 million, mostly from our waste services, our planning fees, lease income, and the whaleback golf course. Our expenditure also increased year on year by $8.6 million, which is about a 6.6% increase. Mostly that represents our employee costs going up $3.16 million, which is from our industrial agreements requirements. Materials and contracts, an increase of $4.4 million, and that's due to increases in our service contract costs. There was also an impact from the waste to energy contract, which commenced during the 24-25 year, where previously we were paying a little bit less for some negotiated contracts with landfills. The net operating result of $11.62 million is a good result. That exceeded the adopted budget of $9.5 million. And last year's result was $11.05 million. So that also reflects an improving trend. Now, what a positive operating result means is that we're generating enough revenue to cover all our operating costs, as well as all our depreciation, which is a non-cash item, but that provides the funding for us to renew our assets, which is a very important part of financial management. Also, you'll see from that slide that we see where we received the extra capital grants of $11.96 million, where the previous year was $4.8 million, which impacted our ratio, our local government financial indicator score that year. Moving on to the next slide. This slide here is looking at the city's debt profile. And so this continues to show that we're reducing our level of debt. We paid down $4.55 million in debt during 24-25. We didn't raise any new loans, or we didn't draw down any loans during 24-25, even though we had budgeted for as I said previously, the Maniana Park. We had budgeted $1.85 million and also the $2.6 million for whaleback. And future borrowings will be restricted to revenue generating purposes or those with a self-supporting funding basis. So, for example, underground power projects. I think this is the last slide. just continues to show that the city is looking at increasing its reserves. So our reserves have increased to $88.5 million. Reserves are either restricted by council or restricted by legislation. So we have those restricted by legislation totaling $9 million, just over. TPS, sorry for the acronyms, that's the Town Planning Scheme Public Open Space contributions. And we also have some underground power sitting in reserve, monies for underground power sitting in reserves. 79, by far the majority is restricted by council, that's $79.41 million. Our reserves increased year on year by 16%. And just to give you a brief rundown on what comprises that $79 million of council reserves. So waste management reserve, we've got nearly $19 million sitting in that reserve. Our asset and plant replacement reserves combined total of about $14.7 million. We also have $13.2 million in our land, building and development reserve. Contaminated sites, another $8 million, and infrastructure renewal, $6 million. Lastly, Canning City Centre Reserve. So that's money we're holding in reserve for continuing works in the Canning City Centre regeneration project is $3.8 million. So we do have a focus on increasing the capacity of our reserves to fund future capital requirements and reduce the city's reliance on debt funding. And currently at the moment, the city is reviewing its reserves framework so that we are able to better support council objectives going forward. I think that's all I had to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Maurizio. I appreciate that. And as you can see from what the presentation from Mr. Maurizio, the city is really, and the council is working very hard to pay down debt. And we have really resurrected our financial position incrementally over the last few years. And we find ourselves now in a really enviable position. And that's good news for the community, good news for the city. I'm happy to take any questions on the financial report from the floor. Anybody has a question of Mr. Maurizio? Yes, Mark.
Where has the extra funding come from? Sort of the payment of debt, etc. Does it come from funds? Is that sort of ratepayers or extra income?
So I think I showed that we've got a strong operating result, net operating results, so we're generating extra revenue over and above our operating costs. And we're just planning better in terms of budgeting within our means and by reducing our paying. And we've built our debt repayment into our long-term financial plan anyway. So we're paying down debt. What we're not doing is taking on new debt.
Thank you. Any further questions before I move? Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. We're going to move on to item 4. It's the first item on the night is to receive the annual report for the year ending the 30th of June 2024. I will need a mover and a seconder. It's required on the motion, and it's simply to receive the annual report for the year ending the 30th of June. I would ask if you would like to be the mover or the seconder to simply raise your hand and state your name, just so staff can pick it up and record it in the minutes. Can I have a mover, please, for the motion? Thank you, Christina.
Janet Vaughan.
Thank you very much. And a seconder?
Peter.
Thank you, Palmer. Thank you very much. Did you want to speak on the motion or probably not a requirement to? Only receiving the report. Do you want to say a few words?
As a ratepayer and a user of local amenities, I am happy with what the council is doing at the moment, with a lot of work being done in improving our local environment and facilities. So thank you very much, and thank you for holding a tight rein on finances too.
Thank you. Actually, very much appreciated. Paul, would you like to add anything? No, thank you. We're going to put the item to the vote. Those that are eligible to vote and by eligible, you must be an elector, and an elector means a person who is eligible to be enrolled to vote at elections for the City of Canning, and that includes ratepayers. You would have been sample was voting was encouraged. I see that shows the voting card there in front, but nevertheless, these only require a simple majority. So I'm going to have to show of hands. I'm going to actually call whether or not there are any against receiving the annual report. Can I have a show of hands of anyone who is against receiving the report? That is none, and all in favour? Thank you. The item has been passed with a simple majority. I declare it carried. Thank you. At item 5, general business. Electors in attendance at the annual general meeting are invited to raise matters of general business. Notwithstanding, we've got a number of motions and also quite a few questions that I'll be reading through in just a moment. But having said that, are there any items of general business anybody would like to raise from the floor? Thank you. We shall, yes. I'll be having questions in just a moment. Thank you. We shall move on in that being the case. Questions submitted in advance of item 5.1. I'll open the public question time at 6:25 p.m. When asking a question, could you please state your name and suburb for recording purposes? If an answer cannot be provided at tonight's meeting, the question will be taken on notice and an answer published in the minutes of this meeting. There have been a number of questions that have been submitted in advance. Max Zeller, I saw you, I think, earlier. Hi, Max, how are you? Are you happy for me to read them out, Max, or do you want to read them?
Yes, I brought the scratcher.
Yeah, okay with that? Max Zeller has asked some questions on behalf of the Wilson Residents Ratepayers Association. Appreciate you being here. There is an issue here. This issue has been going on for over 20 years, yet the city is continuing to make excuses for not commencing the feasibility study into this project. The first question is, if the DBCA Riverbank grant application is unsuccessful, will the city commit to funding the required preliminary surveys and design work itself so the previously promised feasibility study can proceed without further delay? And Max, Director Warren Bowe has prepared a response to each one of these. I'll get the director to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If the DBCA Riverbank grant application is unsuccessful, the city will still need to complete the required surveys and preliminary design before a feasibility study can proceed. The matter will be considered by council during subsequent budget deliberations.
Thank you. The second question was in relation to project priority and protection. The question is, where does the Bywater Park, and that's Bywater Park in Wilson, where does the Bywater Park to Surrey Road shared path boardwalk project currently rank within the city's capital works and long-term infrastructure priorities? And has that ranking changed in the past 2 financial years? Director Bowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You pointed that the relevant path is within an area that is not under the care and control of the city. The area of the missing path is within the area of Kenwood Regional Park that is under the care and control of the DBCA. But having said that, the construction of this path around Kenwood has been a priority of the city and is on the city's walking and cycling plan and has been since 2017. Given the high cost of the missing Bywater link, the city always looks at opportunities to seek funding through the Department of Transport or major infrastructure, West Australian Bicycle Network grants or grant program. And notification funding, as we know previously, is part of our state and federal election commitments. The city will continue to seek grant funding, but as I said earlier, it should be noted that the path is not within an area that's under the control of the city of Canning. Our estimates would expose our council to significant money if we were to fund this project. We will continue to do the feasibility studies and we'll continue to have discussions with council about this project.
Can I get off?
I'll let you do it, Max. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
but just quickly, we've had to move on.
I mean, one of the issues we have is the feasibility study, which we were promised over 2 years ago, was budgeted last year, and it wasn't carried forward to this year. So when you say it's up to council to deliberate, I understand that, but the reality is yeah, we were promised a feasibility study. It was budgeted for and hasn't occurred, and it hasn't been carried forward. So can we just at least have the feasibility study? Because that goes to the centre of the issue in terms of how much it will cost. And needless to say, the cost has only gone up in the last 20 years. So yeah, it's getting quite frustrating, the fact that we keep on getting excuses from a community. So
I'll give you a reply to that and say that the budget process for the city commenced in March. So we're already almost up to February. So we'll be taking that on board. Myself and the Deputy Mayor and other members of the council will be ensuring that that is discussed during the budget process. We're also keen to see that project, see some light. It's been on the drawing board for many, many years. Director, have you got anything you'd like to add?
I would, Mr Mayor. I would agree that there was an allocation in the budget, and there was works that were undertaken. The feasibility study was not progressed. There was some preliminary design and some concept work done. And that work actually was presented to the DBCA, who I met with personally on the 6th of October last year. We presented the concept, the orientation, the alignment of the path, and we sought the DBCA to consider whether or not they would be able to fund or contribute to this project. The answer, unfortunately, at that time was no, and they directed us to the Riverbank Fund Stream to obtain further money to conduct the feasibility study.
Background, because it's contrary to what we're told. Yeah. Okay.
Well, you can follow up after the meeting. I know it's been on the drawing board before, so I think probably after the meeting. Director, would you like to just catch up with Max after the meeting and just follow up offline? You okay with that? The third question was, can the city confirm that the full project scope, including stage delivery beginning with the Bywater to Surrey Road section and future riverside connections, remains an intended outcome and has not been reduced, redefined or deprioritised? Director Vaughan.
The intent and the alignment of the path remain as per the shared and as a shared path connection between Bywater Park to Surrey Road, along with the future riverside links, remains the same. I can't confirm the scope of the project until the feasibility studies. The project continues to be part of a broader outreach transport network planned for the City of Canning River Regional Park, and is one of 4 missing links of the path that we intend to construct around the entire river.
Thank you, Director. The fourth question, if environmental, cultural heritage or soil surveys identify constraints, will the City of Canning commit to working with the DBCA to modify the design and continue progressing the project rather than abandoning or indefinitely deferring it? Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, definitely. In fact, the preliminary engagement we've had with the DBCA has led us to a changing concept, I guess, including basically elevating the path out of and off the ground to protect the vegetation in that specific area. So the city will continue to work with the DBCA, yes.
The fifth question, someone was actually asking which adopted City of Canning strategy or plan does this project directly support? It's the Bywater link is identified on the city's 2017 walking and cycling plan. So that's how we're specifically identified. Question 6 regarding Castle Pier, the Wilson Cove development on Third Road. What, if any, provision has the city or developer made to repair the river walls and improve public amenities and landscaping in the river reserve near the Castle Pier Wilson Cove development? And I can tell you that was raised at council. We've had some discussions about that, haven't we? The condition of the river wall, we're all very familiar with it. Director Vaughan. Oh, sorry, the Director of Planning and Development, Mr. Graham Wright.
The West Australian Planning Commission did not support the city's request for a foreshore management plan. We provided for the newly created foreshore reserve as part of the approval of the local structural plan. Instead, the WAPC advised they would work with the city to fund upgrades to the foreshore reserve via a direct grant. These negotiations around the scope of funding of the works are ongoing. The city is seeking clarity from the WAPC as to what aspects of foreshore upgrades will be funded. The revetment wall replacement or repair is one of the items that have been raised by the city.
Thank you. And question 7 was, when do you expect to release the details and the timeline of the planned work? Very dry.
Yes, the city is awaiting a response from the WAPC in relation to the works, and once this is being resolved to the satisfaction of the city, a time frame to commence the works will be shared.
Thank you. I'm actually going to hand around after the meeting. Director Bowe, a lot of conversation with you. Thanks so much for that. Questions from the floor? Do we have any further questions from the floor? Yes, go ahead. Did you want to come up here for the microphone? No, I can't believe that, not that shy.
I'm getting used to it because I just
Can you get just a touch of
yeah, it's Collette Bishop from East Kennington.
Thank you. Well,
I'm quite an advocate of the city centre because I live quite close to it. So a couple of things I wanted to ask. One was in regards to the new development happening on the corner of Lake and Cecil Avenue, which there was a sign up which you could register your interest and make a comment, and which I did. And one of the questions I wanted to raise with council is, if and when it goes ahead, where the construction vehicle is going to be parking, and in the development there has been little structure put aside for parking. So you're building like 100 units and only 60 parking spots. And that's already an area that there's virtually no parking. And if that development goes ahead, which is directly next to the high school as well, if you look at that whole area, it's got something around 20 mature, very mature trees. So I would like some feedback, or maybe the public would like some feedback as to how that all fits in with a livable city in terms of, you know, we're going to affect the parking in the area. We're going to get rid of 20 mature trees. That's quite a significant effect in that area.
Obviously, that development is being approved, will be assessed by the Commission.
Yeah.
It is a development WA project, so the West Australian Planning Commission is the approval agency.
Yeah.
Certainly, city shares were concerned around parking. We did address that issue as part of our submission, that we felt that based on the amount of units and the amount of parking on site, it was a shortage.
Yeah.
Obviously, from the perspective of the state government, they believe that given it is a mix of social and affordable housing, and it's right next to the train station, their argument is, well, we believe there is sufficient parking. So that is something that the West Australian Planning Commission will obviously look at.
Yeah.
In terms of the trees on site, they have tried to incorporate all the trees we retain.
Yeah.
So you can appreciate rather than be a podium in the car parking and the building coming up.
Yeah.
Parking on the certain area, so they've been able to work around some trees.
So the trees will stay in the parking will be around it.
Yeah, the majority of the trees on the side of the which for that side is probably not a bad outcome. The cities would have preferred like more height in relation to that development, given its location. So that's the parking shortage and the height of the two of the key issues raised in the solution.
So have you got any oversight at all as to what happens to those trees, or during construction, as to where the vehicles during construction is going to be pretty considerable, and there's no parking around that area except for where the old interchange was during the
It's an issue where I think people understand it's happening in the local government sector who would know from what has been published probably in the last 2 years in relation to the diminishing role of councils in the planning process. And so this being state government land and the project being run by the WA Planning Commission, we are basically we have an eye on what's happening, but very influenced over the outcomes that we prefer in them. And the director might have been very polite, saying we would like to see more height in there. We would like to see far better outcomes for the community. We'd like to see the parking addressed in a far different way, rather than broad hard stand parking across our site. So we've spoken to them, but have very little influence on the model. And we're hoping that they will understand that given its proximity to the largest station on the whole Armidale line and the amount of money this community and the city has invested in the Canning City project, that they will, deliver the project with the sort of community benefits that residents would expect. That's our hope.
Okay, so the other question I have, which has sort of been put on the back burner, is the stage 3 of the Southern Road, as to where that is at the moment. Having seen so many changes in the area, as you know, the level crossings being taken away and stuff, I mean, has a reasonable traffic study been done to to effectively see the viability of the third stage, or where's council at with that at the moment?
Thanks for the question. Director Brian can jump in. Look, Sutherland Road Phase 3 continues to be a project we're progressing. We need to purchase land. We need to relocate Western Power infrastructure specifically. We are struggling in both of those areas. The costs associated with relocation of that Western Power infrastructure started at $500,000 last. Guess was by the end was 3.5 million plus or minus 50%. We are continuing to work across those agencies to try and bring those matters to a conclusion.
So you're still,
Well, we're not a stalemate. We're continuing to progress our negotiations.
so the funding still sits in the reserve?
Yes.
Okay. And then there's just one more question. Is there big question. Yeah, it's just in and around the station. Now that it's finished, I personally still have some issues on the railway side of it because it's still, footpath is uneven. And, oh yeah, the Southern Road, I've just noticed, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but the Scouts building at the end of Gibb Street has completely collapsed, the front veranda. So no signage has been put as to keep out the whole veranda's collapsing because I think they've got a 100-year lease on that property. Who is responsible for making sure it's safe? The signage is fine.
Yeah, my understanding is that's the state government facility, sorry, it's state government land.
Yeah.
And they've leased to the Scouts under a separate agreement. It's nothing to do with.
Yeah, so if the building's unsafe and it's collapsing, do I contact council or do I contact the state?
Look at our advice to review it.
Because it's in an area where kids get into, so yeah, the whole veranda's.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I think also it's a matter of, and without dropping anybody in, it's a matter of also liaising closely with local state government and government representative. I mean, we're on SAO's office, right on Cecil Avenue here. You know, you walk out of the place top of the door and say, what's going on? They are responsible for the state government in the sense that your local liaison. So we will do our best. But sometimes I think people, and it's hard when you're not in the bubble, don't understand how difficult it is for the level of governments to work together. I believe we're really progressive and pragmatic council, and we're pretty easy to get on with. We move quickly and get things done. It doesn't work that way when we're having to deal with often the state government agency that is particularly difficult. So yes, we'll get out with that quickly.
Well, just because it's the reason I sort of logged that is it's also part of the Southern Link Road because that area was also counted as being the McDowell Street interconnection there. And Scouts aren't using it. They've stopped using it completely. No. Nobody's using it. I just thought, well, I'd just make the city aware of what's going on there. And then and so that just brings me into the city centre plan, and I noticed that you had some reserves there, and whether there's any interest in sort of increasing some of those reserves for some of the landscaping, because down Seven Oaks you have a lot of medium strips and things that are completely bare. So I've got these beautiful stations and beautiful landscape. There was a beautiful landscape outside Queen's Park shops there, and actually that station looks pretty good. But anything around Paddington Station, which is the city's namesake, looks pretty terrible. And we've got
You're talking about the railway precinct there?
Yeah, the railway parade on the corner of Gibb Street and Railway Parade. It's obviously there's footpaths that are unsafe, and then there's businesses, industrial units directly opposite, chain link fence, full of rubbish up to about 1 metre high, and it just looks, so you step off the station and that's what you're confronted with. It's an absolute nightmare.
So the city is taking over the management of the precinct there.
Yeah.
But we are still working through that. We obviously building the scope. There have been significant losses of trees and landscaping in there. I've seen that myself.
Yeah.
And I'm highly disappointed by it. But we are now governed by the planting season.
Yeah, obviously.
place to spend public funds.
I don't
Replacing
want to
trees.
say, I'm just trying to gauge a point as to
No.
where the city's at.
Yeah,
And just opposite, I said, I don't know what you do in regards to businesses maintaining what it looks around outside, but that business area's been there well over 40 years. I mean, it's a truck stop, it's, it's got.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm just interested to know, in the thinking of the city as to wouldn't they rather just see housing there rather than a sandwiched industrial estate between two, private housing residential areas.
Time soon.
Yeah, no, I'm not wanting to change. I'm just highlighting it to the council because
I appreciate it.
some of the scheme plans,
No, no.
sometimes they change.
Taking note of that.
Look, I think it's fair to say we are proposing a review of the Canning, the Queen's Park structure plan. There will be an opportunity to look at land use in that as part of that process. We do think that the elevated rail represents great opportunity to contemplate density or increased density.
Yeah.
And to allow to encourage amalgamation of some of those land holdings. So we hear what you're saying. I think that rail precinct will continue to improve and change its face over the next 10 years. Some of the work that we'll do around our planning scheme will facilitate that, and there will be a continual focus on that area.
Because you've got Hamilton Street up to about Station Street, which is kind of part of the city centre, and there's obviously opportunity for more parking in the medium streets, which there's nothing in them at the moment. And I'm just highlighting that now the station's finished.
Thank
It
you.
would be nice just to say a defining part of the city centre. Basically, that's it.
Thanks for coming along. Very much appreciate it. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions from the floor? You've had a crack at it. Come on.
That's fair enough. This is where it's after my wife. The art trail was very successful this year. Yeah, my wife's a local artist and we participated in the art trail and we're very happy with that. Is there plans to do that again this year?
Oh, I hope so. Is that the planning director? I'm not a director, but I was a big supporter of it. So was Rick Bishop. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we have got an allocation in the budget, so the team are working on it.
And we got a lot of feedback, didn't we? Most of it was positive, but some of it was actually really good feedback from the artists itself that gave us a few ideas on how we could just tighten it up and make it a little bit more interactive and a little better. It's the first one we've run. I did the trail myself, fantastic. So,
I noticed you, City Melbourne will be doing for a while, and they've also Decent Arts Centre. Is there any plans to upgrade the future?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, we're always working with the local arts group and we have been discussing plans.
Only to say we continue to support the Arts Centre. We've continued to invest to make their current facilities as good as they can be. They are in our thinking for our future plans. That isn't immediate though. So
that was a pretty advanced plan a few years ago, and it kind of went quiet. So I'm just curious as to what was happening. So
sometimes things do go quiet. It's mostly because there's just so many moving parts in a big council like this. There's just so many things going on, and we have that many big projects. Often we can't deliver everything when people want them, but we never forget. We're like elephants. We will pop up again, but right now, yes, we continue to talk, but we are just prioritising some other projects. They've got a terrific home over there. I think they're pretty happy. One day I'll have something much nicer, but right now, I think it's pretty adequate.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Any other questions before we move on? Yes, hello, how are you going? Would you like to come up to the Lord Mills stage? The podium, just introduce yourself.
Just on the parking side of it, in the Bentley St James area, which is where I can speak from, because of the saturation now of the subdevelopments and where you've had one house, you now have 3, 4, in some cases 6 and 8. The parking on the street is ridiculous on weekends and after hours. I mean, Boulder and Boundary, it's down to just one single car navigating cars parked on either side. And then all the little side streets, again, is an accident waiting to happen.
Well, to be honest with you, we're trying to play catch up with this. I think everybody who lives in the city of Canning is slowly realising the impact of infill and where do those cars go. And it's not just that they park on the roads, they're also now all over the verges. So we're seeing, hundreds, thousands of verges down to reduce to sand, to black hot sand, everything's dead. Can't put a tree on it, can't put anything on it. And so we're dealing with it, talking about it, trying to understand how best to manage it. We can prohibit parking, but where do they go? We can prohibit parking on verges, but then they'll go on the road. If you prohibit parking on the road, they'll go on the verges. And, I'm not sure what the answer is. All I can say is that every council struggles with it.
It's not just part of the planning development as they're building.
Yeah.
Because I've recently done that and you have to allocate parking spaces, but now because of people renting out rooms and multi-tenanted residences, the parking particular, and I mean, I would imagine most of the suburbs with the small side streets are feeling the same impact.
Oh, it's even, you said 2 or 3 houses on a block of land. They don't build small houses anymore. They're all big houses. And so you have on one block of land, you have 3 large homes, each one big enough to hold 3 families. And anyone that's had 10 hours children, suddenly got a home with 4 cars in it. Where does it? And that's just one of them. So yeah, we don't know what the answer is. We're struggling to deal with it ourselves. We have to come up with a solution. It's not going to get any better. We are working really hard to contribute to the state government's infill targets, and that's not a opt-in thing, by the way. The city is bound to contribute to that. So, sometimes I guess when the state governments, and I'm not laying blame here, but when state governments come up with a grand scheme, they don't think about the inadvertent impact on communities. And so, yeah, and of course, also the loss of trees has been extraordinary. And councils have been trying to get the state government to take on that really sensitive issue around, the land, private land rights and the rights of residents versus the loss of trees. And, how do you balance that up? And the state government stepped right away from that. They don't want to have a bar of that, really prickly situation. And so as fast as we're planting trees using public money and millions of dollars of ratepayer money, as fast as we plant these tiny saplings, we are losing the same number of mature trees. So someone's going to give us the economics don't even add up. So I guess, what do you do there? You ask the government and go, okay, well, we're going to stop planting trees on verges until some common sense approach.
Parking, is it worthwhile just on a case by case basis, just keep chipping away at it and reporting those streets?
Absolutely. We often have absolutely. So do you want to?
Well, other than saying, only to say, if there are specific issues in precinct areas, we encourage you to report them. We'll do an investigation and try and take a consistent approach to how we respond.
The grand scale. I mean, we can chip away at it,
but I think the point we've been trying to make is, I think we understand the implications of densification. Parking is one of them, and not only that, it's further exacerbated by our proximity to Curtin Uni, student housing, those sorts of things. So I know you guys are living it. Our job is to look at these things in the broader context of what we're trying to achieve and what we can do without necessarily creating broader problems in the future. So we'd encourage you to keep reporting it. We'll review it. We'll apply a lens that hopefully will maybe we'll manage the problem appropriately. We'll put the right countermeasures in place to deal with the issue.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Any further questions before we move on? Thanks, everybody. I'll move on now. I'll turn my page so I know where I am. Motions submitted in advance of item 5.3 on tonight's agenda. Motions from this meeting will be presented at the next available council meeting. A mover and a seconder is required on any motion before it can be considered. And motions have been received in advance by Stephen Johnston. Stephen, can you raise your hand? I just wanted to say in the recent Australia Day Aspire Citizenship of the Year Award. So Stephen was acknowledged for his fine work over many years as a contributor and a volunteer in the community. It's a wonderful day, Stephen, wasn't it? It was indeed. Apparently, it was only soured by a very controversial choice for the Puppy of the Year by the Deputy Mayor. Bit of a scandal there. We'll probably hit the papers next week, but probably I don't want to say anything. Mr. Johnston, can you come forward, please, and just present your motion? Just state your name, read out your motion, please. And we do have a seconder already. Colette Bishop, you're prepared to second the motion? Thank you. Mr. Johnston, you have a few minutes to move your motion and put your own motion. Thank you.
As most councillors would be aware, because some of them joined us on a tour of the area, but electors and newer councillors may not be aware. Bushland at 351 Bannister Road, Canningvale, is the largest remaining remnant of Banksia woodland in the city of Canning that is without any form of state or local government conservation protection. It covers nearly 7 hectares. It's in good to very good condition, with many mature trees, a healthy understory of shrubs and ground cover plants, and very few woody weeds. Based on a survey of Kenhurst Park, the adjoining 53-hectare Bush Forever Reserve in the city of Melville, Bannister Road bushland is likely to provide habitat for a range of native animals, including Carnaby's cockatoos, rainbow bee-eaters, splendid fairy wrens, penguins, and western grey kangaroos. This meeting on the 18th of March last year, Council passed a 7-part motion for a review of the Bannister Road bushland, which included an environmental assessment. At Council's last meeting in December, the CEO advised that the environmental assessment report would be presented to Council in February and be followed by a planning and valuation review of the site being completed by July this year. The Bannister Road bushland shares some major characteristics with the Ranford Road bushland at Lot 9006 Ranford Road, Canningvale. They are both predominantly Banksia woodland threatened ecological communities. They comprise relatively large areas of some of Canning's best quality remnant native vegetation. And their zoning under the local planning scheme 42 has become quite inappropriate, or no longer is at Ranford Road, fortunately, but still is at Bannister Road, in my view. 2 years ago, when Council was considering the future of the Ranford Road bushland, it already had a comprehensive environmental assessment report of the site. The Council nevertheless agreed at its December 2023 meeting that a significant tree register assessment should also be conducted. That assessment, tabled at last December's Council meeting, filled a major gap in our knowledge of the Ranford Road bushland and our understanding of how it can best be managed to protect its outstanding environmental values. It brought to the public attention for the first time what was outside the terms of reference of the environmental assessment report it had previously commissioned, that this small area of bushland had hundreds of significant trees of considerable ecological value to both the city of Canning and the broader region, with many trees of great antiquity and size. Against all that background, I believe it is important that the city adopts the same approach to the Bannister Road bushland and commissions the significant tree assessment of the area, both to enhance our knowledge of the area and thereby help guide its future zoning and management, which I imagine would be the principal outcome of the city's planning and valuation review to be released in July, and to identify trees that are of particular value and therefore should be added to the significant tree register. Fellow residents and ratepayers, I encourage you to help preserve this wonderful natural remnant area in our city by supporting this motion for a significant tree register assessment of the Bannister Road bushland. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for coming down this evening. I'll just invite, is anybody wanting to speak against the motion? No one? Stephen, I might just put it straight to the vote if you don't mind. Did anybody wish to vote against the motion? Those in favour? Thank you. Is it all in favour? Thank you. And the matter has been carried by a simple majority. Thank you very much for that. The motion has been carried. We have a second motion by Chair. Yeah, go ahead.
Who owns that land?
Who owns the land? Bannister. City of Canning. Yeah, City of Canning. Janet Vaughan, are you here? Yes, hi, how are you? You've got a motion you'd like to put. Would you like to come up to the podium? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and Council representatives.
And I have a second here, Andrew Scott. Andrew Scott is here, so we have a mover and we also have a seconder. Thank you. You have a few minutes to put your motion. Right.
Thank you very much. The Kent Street Weir precinct is actually a very, very valuable area. It is incredibly well used. On a busy day, we can have canoeists, kayakers. We have the Kent Street Cafe, the Eco Centre. We have family groups. We have all sorts of things, even ukuleles. The dog park there has been informally there for quite a long time. It was previously on the site of the old rugby pitch. In recent years, it has been fenced off, it has been turfed, it is maintained, there's water, there are walking paths, and there are two small pavilions, roughly on the northern south ends, which are giving some shade and a little bit of rest area. There are also two bench seats, roughly on the east and west edges as well. Unfortunately, after about 9 o'clock on a warm day, there is no shade and the place empties out. Now, having lots of dogs, owners, is a great thing, and we have built up a wonderful community. It's a great community venture as well. So, yep, there's even going to be a series on the ABC about dog parks. But unless there is some shade, it is unusable after around about 9 o'clock on a sunny day, and it is empty, absolutely empty. So my proposal is that a stand of trees and possibly suitable complementary vegetation be put down roughly in an area as an island in the centre of the park, roughly along the north-south central axis. This will provide much needed shade, both in the afternoon and in the morning, not so much in the morning, but certainly in the afternoon. But as canopy grows, we will have more shade available for areas of the park. It's also good for sensory stimulation for the dogs. It also means that they're not going to be using the benches at either end of the pavilion as marking points. We did not greatly sitting on an area that you only just then realise has been marked by dog. So my proposition is, I think we'll be doing a number of things, providing shade, improving the amenity, and increasing tree canopy, which so far the council has been very, very good at supporting. And I hope that this is something that resonates with a number of people, and we have more dog users and dogs enjoying that amenity for longer during each day.
Tremendous thing. Thank you, Director Bow. Did anyone wish to speak against the matter of putting a few trees in the dog park at Kent Street Weir? Did anyone wish to vote against putting a few trees in there? Can I have a show of hands all in favour then? The matter has been carried by a simple majority. Thank you very much for coming along. The meeting's been carried. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Does anyone else wish to put a motion from the floor? Well, there's someone in the back. Yes, please come forward.
I'd like to put a motion forward, proposed to endorse a trial program, place community skip bins on suitable city and county council owned land. Really discussed this with Mark. Recently in December, we thank you to Mark. He placed a skip bin on the corner of Palmerston and Chapman Road, and as a result of that, just being there over a weekend, it was filled by the community. My suggestion is that we put them on plots of land, like for example, there's a corner area on the corner of Chapman, Duke, and my street, and it's a constant dumping ground because it's quite a large cornered area, and there's corner of Palmerston, there's another corner block, and I can only speak for my area, but I'm sure in other suburbs as well. We'd like to trial it in Bentley, that they're placed on those lots. The community, the neighbours surrounding that can then put the small items in there. I believe that it would be cost beneficial to the council because you won't have to collect the dumping, and particularly in Bentley at the moment with all the development and the influx of various tenants, there is dumping galore. So the council has to then arrange for particular pickups where it's dumped on front verges or on parklands or school areas and the like, and to reduce that. And cost wise, in my street alone in the last 12 months, I may have seen 2 bins out in front verges. So I would assume that not every household is budgeted to have 2 skip bins every year, and just a percentage. And that would be interesting to see the uptake over a year period of the number of bins allocated per suburb or per ward, I guess, versus the uptake. So that's my suggestion, is that we trial it in Bentley, that the council sponsor a bin on those allotments. Part of the proposals that I've sent forward to Mark details, we were talking about sticking QR codes on the actual bins to encourage the residents to then go and do the white goods or the mattress collections as well, so that they don't dump them on the bins.
Just hold up for a moment.
Sure.
I'll do this second, so I'll encapsulate that. Now, I'll try and cobble this together into a motion. But I think that what we're saying is that you'd like the CEO to consider, or the city to consider, the provision of strategically placed skip bins for communal use in known dumping spots across the city, that are starting obviously impact Bentley, St James. Is that sort of what you would like to consider? All right. Can I get a seconder from the floor, just so at least we can talk about the issue? Is there a seconder? Thank you. Collette Bishop has seconded. So thank you. You've spoken of the issue. Just in relation to that, what I read that is, does that encapsulate pretty much what you're thinking?
Exactly.
Oh, was it?
Very simple.
Oh, okay. All right. So what we'll actually have is we'll put the matter to the vote here in a moment. We'll invite people to speak against it if they would like to, and then we'll put the item to the vote. If it's actually supported tonight, the CEO will actually put a report to council, and council will actually consider that a little bit later in the year. And you're welcome to actually speak to the officers before ending tonight, so we get a real feel for what it is that you actually wanted, other than what you said this evening. And it's very obviously to email myself if you'd like to, and I'll pass it through to the relevant officers, just as I said, to encapsulate the theme of what it is that you said. So just in regards to staff there, Ms Cornish, did you catch that? I'll read out. You want me to read what I wrote? So it'll be something like CEO to consider the provision of strategically placed skip bins for communal use in known dumping spots across the city on a trial basis. I'll just have to hold you there, Mr. Bishop. I've got to maintain order. They didn't give me my gavel, so I'll just wait until the I've got that typed up and on the screen.
I've detailed a page that I've already forwarded to Mark as well, outlining. Oh.
Okay. I'll get you to the liaison, Mark. It will be easier. Can I get you just to read that, just make sure you're happy with it? It doesn't have to be perfect,
Yep.
but it's, you're okay
Thumbs
with
it up.
that?
Yep.
It just needs to say Bentley.
Trialling in
I think
Bentley
the
was my
suggestion
suggestion.
that we started in Bentley, and that's probably a good idea to actually trial it there, see if it works. If it's successful, we can
And
consider.
refine the implementation.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a great idea. Okay, thank you. You're happy with the motion then? Mr. Bishop, you seconded it. Did you have something you wanted to say?
So I think it's a good idea because we're still seeing dumping outside the actual, and the take of the big way has been pretty good. We see it all the time. But occasionally we get, you know, some people still dumping huge amounts on verges. So if something like that could be advertised or people know about it, you know, like once every 3 months.
It's sort of for sure. Where, you know,
So every 3 months somebody knows that there's going to be a bin.
yeah.
And that's part of the proposal that I've put
Yeah.
forward.
Thank you very much. Did anyone want to speak against the motion? Yes, go ahead.
I mean, I agree in principle. I'd like to see, as part of the trial consideration, putting similar bins at the recycling centre. I know there's a lot of people that would otherwise go there and dump there, but if they, I mean, I imagine that in our area, the skip bins have been very well received, but there's a lot of owners there. I imagine there's a lot of problems with rentals, and I'm not sure how it works, whether rental can request a bin, or whether they have to go through the landlord. But I think a similar scheme whereby there was permanently placed bins at front of the recycling centre, so they don't have to use a tip pass. In some cases, they don't even get the tip passes because the rentals I think would be a good idea to consider. Yeah.
A lot of it, I found that people who recently moved in, education, they don't know they've got them, and until I tell them.
If it gets that far, that'll be a big piece of it. Maybe and look at these things, we would have a trial, there'd be a lot of learnings would fall out of it, and that might be one of them. But it would be only on a trial basis anyway. So we'll see how it works. We expect that we'll get a lot of consultation with the community and people with feedback, new ideas like you might through your association. And then if it works, we'll look at implementing it further. But
certainly not against the trial. That's all right.
Well, let's
consider that.
I think it reminds me of the charity bins that used to be around the shopping centres or whatever it is, and they were a good idea at the beginning, but they became abusive towards the end, and people were just throwing rubbish out on the next to the bins and whatever it is. It became
sort of case. We're very lucky. You raised a good point. We're very fortunate here in the city of Canning. We have a representation of almost every one of those charity shops. Just in Albany Highway alone, like everybody is there, and every morning you drive past it, and there is the whole front of it's teeming with dumped refuse, and it's horrendous on a windy day or a wet day. So I take your point.
Just like to add, this is not a one-stop solution, though. This is again sorting a problem out where people are dumping, and even when I've had skip bins recently, I walk out there and it's half full before I've even put anything in it, because people don't have necessarily a full skip bin. They might have 2 or 3 items that they want to dispose of that doesn't fit in the green bins. So it's not going to solve every problem, but it will.
Well, you're proposing a trial, you know, you have at the moment. So yes.
Exactly what you're saying. You do the trial period, then you get your feedback from it. The other things that I noticed that the council has the local small mini skip bins being dropped around the place, whatever it is. I don't know if there's the fee involved in that one.
They're the ones I'm talking about.
Every resident's follows a skip in the year.
And I just might provide some commentary if I can. We provide a fairly comprehensive waste services. I appreciate there may be some issues around illegal dumping that we're trying to address. I think it's important that we understand the issue before we look to create solutions that may or may not create greater problems. The reality is that what we really need to do is to start ensuring that that people take responsibility for their waste. The waste service that the City of Canning provides would probably be one of the most comprehensive and complete in metropolitan Perth. 2 skip bins,
2 tip passes,
2 tip
mattresses picked
mattresses,
white goods picked up.
So we do provide lots of access for people to be able to utilise waste and waste services. Our multi-unit dwellings, we appreciate our issues. We work with Department of Communities in particular to try and ensure that there is a service or the service that they can utilise. Sometimes people just throw their waste on the verge just because it's easy for them to do it. And if you provide a bin over there, it's still too far for them and they'll just dump it somewhere else.
Again, this is complementary to all of that. It's just another piece of the puzzle to solve that. Because some people don't have.
I understand your point, Fiona. I'm just trying to say
it
is a fairly comprehensive service that we're offering. You know, it's hard to believe that people can't avail themselves of the services.
It's a big issue.
Which is why I've suggested putting signs on there as well with QR codes linking to the mattress and the white goods pickups. Because a lot of people don't even realise unless you go onto the website or someone tells you. So again, it's multifaceted.
I agree. We could do better. I'm going to move the meeting on if you don't mind. Would you like to? Yeah, one comment.
council knows more about what's going on because you do it all the time. So you will get feedback. You can't beat stupidity, you can't beat laziness. And the thing is that sometimes it'll be in the end, the council will have to send around its own people to do a street sweep in the area every so often to have the year to clean things up. That's fine. Thoughts on it there, but it's wrong.
Thank you. I'm going to have to move the meeting on, Collette. We've had a fair amount of discussion. No, I'm going to move the meeting on. I'm going to put the item to the vote. Is anyone wishing to vote against the item? All in favour? Okay, thank you. The item's been carried by a simple majority, and I appreciate the commentary. Thank you for your input and your contribution to that. Thank you so much. Any other motions from the floor? None, thank you. Yes.
We'll just about the bollards around Ferndale Flats. That's been brought up later in the meeting, or a lot of them are deteriorating that need to be maintenance done to them.
With the bollards.
Yeah, the copper pine areas around the parks and open spaces. The pine.
Oh, I know what you're saying. It's a barrier to stop people driving onto the.
Okay.
To stop young kids from driving onto the park.
Yeah, something
They finally lost it for a long time ago. We replaced it on an ad hoc basis, don't we? Director, I was going to come in and chat to you immediately after the meeting.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Yes.
So this motion is to improve footpath.
I think you can come closer to the microphone.
Those with mobility scooters. Again, in our area, we have a substantial number of people with mobility scooters, and the footpaths are cracked, hills, in fact, in some cases narrow, and in some cases none at all. And the accesses to and from crossing roads, whatever that slant, like the little slanted paths to get on them. So I would like to put forward a motion that the council actually do an audit of all of the footpaths in the area and align to.
When you say area, you talk about the entire city of Kenny.
Well, some of the major arteries. Yep, so for example, in our area, access to the Bentley Plaza, so we'll get before it, access to the city, to the shopping centre here, Carousel, those main streets. I see a lot of people driving to and from, when I'm driving to and from work along Albany Highway with mobility scooters trying to go up and down the footpaths, particularly the crossing at the police station. Where are we? Just trying to cross over that and going through the middle section and navigating that narrow up and down ramp. Sometimes they just go around the actual aisle.
So we've got an asset renewal program and spend a lot of money every year renewing, repairing, replacing shared paths right throughout the city. But I guess we do always look for people like yourselves, Judy, to provide that direct feedback to us. So if there is a glaring issue that needs to be addressed, especially around safety, we can send people out to come in and quickly assess and see whether or not they should be placed on the priority list. Director, can you just give some insight just very quickly about how the shared paths are managed, just in relation to what has been discussed tonight? How do we pick up those that are what done by the city?
Kilometres of path that exists across the city and our review program. And we certainly take very seriously tripping hazards and issues that impact accessibility. But to really like the Mayor's point, the most expedient way to have those addressed is to report. And
case by case basis.
Go out and look at it, fix it immediately.
And also just in relation to Albany Highway, is it true that Albany Highway is obviously under the management of main roads? Is the footpath, the shared path along Albany Highway our responsibility or maintenance?
It's mixed management responsibilities just there, but certainly in recent times our staff will be making asks to undertaking accessibility of the footpath along either side of Albany Highway, primarily between the Band Motel and Carousel. So we've already received feedback in relation to concerns about that specific area. But we do undertake some proactive inspections, but again, the best way for us to address those is to have members of the public through as well.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But like I said, any issue you have, just escalate it through to myself, the Deputy Mayor, the CEO, Director Bo, and we've also got on the city's website, we have a requested area there. Go on there, request it, and actually put in there the issue that you're experiencing, which might be a footpath issue. You can actually track it. You'll see that it's been actioned, you'll see that it's been completed. Staff will contact you to discuss it. You can actually track it all the way through to completion. So it's called requested on the city's website. Yes.
Just speaking further to that, one of the things that has changed over the last 10, 15 years is that gophers are no longer quite small, narrow and defined that way. They are actually bigger. There are a lot of multi-purpose wheelchairs as well, which are generally much wider, and they need a greater access. So what may have previously been sufficient for a manual wheelchair or a standard gopher is no longer suitable for a lot of these newer systems. So that needs to be taken into account with a number of these access points, particularly when you're looking at lights and you've got a channel, quite a narrow channel for them to move on to.
We've got Judy Potter up the back. Hi, Judy, how are you? A community stalwart up the back on her little gopher. And we understand the issue. And, you know, it's also around bin pickup days. You see people leave their bins out, even though they're not supposed to, for more than a day. It makes it particularly hard for people that are having accessibility issues. And so it's about educating people, but you just can't keep educating everybody about everything. It has to be a degree. And also a sense of community where people are thinking outside of themselves and thinking about people like Judy. They're going to try and get around the disability on a gopher in a world of clutter. So, yeah, we're going to do better. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming tonight. A special mention to all the executive staff who are here, every one of them. Our governance team who have given up their evening to be here tonight to facilitate the meeting. The Deputy Mayor and our council. I've never seen so many councillors at a electors meeting. It's not a council meeting, it's your meeting, but it was important to our councillors to come down tonight to listen to what are the concerns of importance to its community. And I think that demonstrates a really high functioning council, and I'm really pleased to see them all here. We've come to the end of the meeting. Item 7 is closure. Thank you for your attendance once again on behalf of myself, the council, and the City of Canning. I really hope you enjoyed tonight. We only do it once a year, but we try to make it as interactive and as casual as we can and not be too tough. And I now declare the meeting closed, the time being 7:23 p.m. And if you'd like to hang around for a little while, the councillors, some of them will be able to stay